what we're going through now, the pandemic we're going through, for most people, this is the first time they are experiencing something as huge as this. For most of us, this is probably the first time we're experiencing something negative that is affecting the whole world at the same time and almost bringing everything to a halt. So we can only learn from what the experiences in the past have been, since most of us have not exactly experienced something of this nature, right? So I have two images on the screen here, and my question would be, out of these two tools you can see on the screen, which of them do you think is much more useful? Okay, so Sheriff.
The one on the left.
The one on the left, that would be the Swiss Army knife, right?
Yes.
All right. So Obioma.
Same.
Same. Okay.
Same, yes.
Any contrary opinion? Okay. Anyways, in my own opinion, it depends on whoever is handling the device itself. So none of them has any power over the other. The power in itself is resident with the mind or with the individual that is holding it. So, of course, because the Swiss Army knife readily presents itself as a tool you can use for so many things. There's knife, there is a corkscrew, there's a opener, there's all sorts, right? So the mind doesn't challenge itself to find better use or more usage for the tool because it's already defined. But with the tool on the right side, depending on the situation you find yourself in, if it is a very regular situation, definitely you just use it to pick your food and put it in your mouth, and that's the end, right? But if you find yourself in a situation where you have a door in front of you, you've lost your key, and this is probably the only thing you have with you, then you discover that, okay, you can actually use this to open a lock. If you have a reason to spread maybe a white cloth somewhere in the mud, you have mud on the floor and you need the cloth to stay on the line. You probably start imagining you can use the fork as a clip to hold the cloth on the line. If you are forced at gunpoint to make a portrait or to make a painting with the fork, you will discover that you can actually use it to start painting. So in essence, the first step in turning adversity into advantage is the mindset. So for many of us, we'll do ourselves that good to have a mindset that, yes, we can actually make things work during this period, right? So mindset is very, very critical to every other thing I'll be saying, to any other talk you hear from those who are experts or otherwise. By the way, of course, I'm not an expert as far as the crisis is concerned, but then the little knowledge of life is what we just put together, and then maybe from past experience. So pandemic, what we know, at least based on past history, past happenings, and okay, what experts or different opinions are put together, is the fact that there will be a lot of wage shed, of course, job loss, shrinking business size, and the rest of it. There will be more wage shed because the pandemic is what we're going through now. The aftermath of the pandemic would mean that, okay, businesses that have had to shut down for a long period might not come back, and, you know, they've had to downsize and do all sorts. Because of the fear people have as regards their health and everything, contactless services would be on the rise because, okay, I don't want to touch something another person has touched. So it means people will be demanding for services or products that doesn't require physical contact. And we've seen that already, that's happening already, you know. Restrictions in some ways would increase. And this is no surprise because every territory, be it your own house, your office, or a country, is trying to protect their resources, trying to protect their people. And because of this, there will be some sort of restrictions. before 9/11, traveling was much more fun because, okay, there was no reason for people to put up their shoes, going through security at the airport and all. But because of a single incident, it turned around, it changed the face of traveling, air travel specifically, forever. And with COVID-19, of course, we should also expect that for some people that have had cost to travel to some Asian countries like South Korea and rest of them, of course, people have had to spend maybe additional 10, 12 hours at the airport because there are different procedures you have to go through. There are some tests and then some sort of tracking because they just want to be sure that, okay, new entrants into the country, into the territory are not adding to their headache already. Of course, we all can actually attest to the fact that having been at home for like a month and a half or almost 2 months, and then you have to cope with, okay, managing your own work because you're still working from home, and then family, for those who have kids or wife and all, it's not been easy. So people are being stretched out because, okay, you have to work extra hours and all. So these are some of the things we should expect during this period. So the mindset is very, very critical. And if we have the right mindset, it means we can start to look at things we can do, especially with our business, with creativity or whatever it is. So I tried as much as possible to sort of create different opinions as regards, okay, how best to manage during this period. And I think I have 4 things I'll just speak about during this period that you can do such that you start to turn what seems like an adversity into some sort of advantage for yourself. So the first one is to reset. And what I mean by this is based on the physical demands and the emotional demands, this is probably the time to just, take a moment to pause and then reset the mindset, reset yourself physically, emotionally, such that you have a clearer head to deal with other things that will be happening around. The industry we are in, a good part of what we do is a function of our mind, our state of mind. If you have a cluttered mind, you find it easily being reflected in the quality of work that you do, right? So having to reset means, okay, you know what? I close my eye, take a deep breath, and just see this as a moment to, just put the brakes on and then analyze and see things and then find a way to clear the cache and then, sort of have a clean slate or a blank white sheet, sort of. And this is needed because every other thing you will be building on will be built on your mindset, your physical being, if you are fit enough to go the long haul during this period that will probably demand extra from you. So that's the first thing. The second one is to reinvest in your very self, in your team. And of course, this can be overemphasized. There are several factors that point to the fact that, okay, this is actually the best time to reinvest in yourself, reinvest in your team, reinvest in your processes. Because most likely a couple of businesses would experience some sort of slow-paced period, right? Briefs won't come in as fast as they should normally during this period because, okay, clients are also reevaluating and thinking and asking questions if they should spend that money, if it's the right time to launch that project or to launch that campaign. So it means most likely you have some extra time on your hands. So during that period, what are you using the period to do? Have you possibly added to the knowledge you have about the industry? Are there new trends that, because, okay, we come in 9 to 5 or 9 to 11 p.m. and then we'll go back home, spend some time in traffic. When was the last time you had the opportunity of adding another skill or another added knowledge to what you know already? So this is actually the time to invest in yourself, reinvest in the team, take an assessment of all the team members and ask yourself, okay, for this individual, in the last 6 months, when we were so busy that we didn't really have time, we've always had trouble with getting him or her to deliver on some things. And that's because he or she doesn't have the skill set to do it. Now we have more time on our hands. Clients aren't exactly asking for so much. Instead of us just waiting and then whining about, okay, how slow we have the chance to actually, push ourselves really well, such that by the time things pick up again, we are ready to go. And of course, there are several trends that actually, corroborate the fact that it's actually a necessity for us to reinvest in ourselves at this point in time. Skill sets, the shelf life of our skill sets is getting shortened by the day. So some years back, you could have knowledge of how to maybe use a tool or how to do certain things or a certain method in arriving at some solutions or creative solutions for your clients. But today, what you thought was relevant yesterday, by the time you come back today, it has changed. And no thanks to technology and the advancements in technology and every day. Take for instance, the Instagram you used last week is not the same Instagram you used this week, especially for businesses. And that's because the platform is continuously improving, adding new features that can help businesses. So if you thought you knew everything about Instagram as a last month, if you come back to Instagram today, because of the things they've added, it has shortened the shelf life of the skill set you had. So it means you need to add or update that skill set. There's very low cross-functional barrier. So it means someone who studied law in school today, because of the knowledge of TikTok or any other platform that can be used for creativity, for marketing communication, there's nothing stopping the person from actually taking up the job that should have been your exclusive right, so to say. So it means we need to continuously invest in ourselves such that you are on top of the game. You are abreast of, the latest of happenings around you, the tools that are relevant to the job you do or the work you do and the industry. Of course, part of the trend we'll continue to see is very fluid delegation of duty. In the past, you probably wait for a copywriter before you can fix copy on creative material. Today, you probably have people, whatever nomenclature you give to them. This same person is the one looking for image. This same person is the one writing the copy and then doing the composition. In the past, you need to wait for another director to finish a design. With tools like Canva, whoever it is can go ahead and start the process of thinking through, what am I trying to create? What am I trying to say to the audience? And then we wouldn't stop at that. We'll go ahead to write the copy. We'll go ahead to make the design. So, and this will continue. Multi-generational workforce is also a very, very critical trend. Of course, there are some roles that were reserved for some generation or for a certain age group. But what you find out is maybe a 14-year-old is probably doing exact same thing someone who ordinarily would tout 10 years experience or 15 years experience. These kids are born into the whole thing. And of course, because they eat, sleep, drink all these tools, and of course, they've immersed themselves so well into pop culture and all of that things that influence creativity or that influence all the things we do. You discover that they're able to probably do it faster. And maybe the only thing that stands you out would be the fact that the learnings or the lessons you've gathered over the years from experience of executing those jobs would come in handy for you. Remote work, freelance work, of course, we've all been in this in the last 2 months or thereabout. Of course, with the lockdown, people had to work remotely. And for some persons, after evaluating the whole situation, they discover that, perhaps we'll continue with this trend. So many companies, especially tech companies, have opted for, remote work. For some, nobody's resuming back at the office till the end of the year. For some, till the end of next year. So these are part of the factors that, okay, make it necessary for us to sharpen our skill to invest in ourselves. More importantly, we'll continue to have more jobs than people, not because a lot of new jobs are being created per se, but because there's skill mismatch. We have new technology, we have new way of doing things that the people we have on ground don't know how to do it. So it means we can't hire them. But for people who've taken time, especially during this period, to reinvest in their skill set, it means you're up to date and then you are ready for the opportunities that are around. Work-life balance, of course, is something we've all been clamoring for. Now, the lockdown created an opportunity to experiment with it, and we realized that the work-life balance thing in itself, does it really exist? We've been asking that question because there is no resumption time, there is no closing time, because you wake up at 6 a.m. If you are with your laptop, work starts at that point in time. If you are still with your laptop and you have power supply and the internet is still on, you'll probably find yourself still working till late into the night. So this will continue to happen, and it will only favor people who have taken time to add new skill sets, new knowledge to make life easier for themselves. If you're able to automate some of your processes, if you're able to delegate to maybe some mini robots or to use some tools to make life easier for yourself, then you're turning the adversity of this period into advantage. So during this period, it's also very critical to reevaluate, to look at the things we used to tout to be our core competence and ask ourselves, how relevant are they during this period? How relevant will they be moving forward? So part of the things that are very critical is adaptability. So we had a lockdown for about 5 weeks in Lagos. The question is, if there is a reason, if the government finds a reason to lock down for another 2 months, will you be able to adapt to that? What effort have you put in place to make sure, okay, yes, you're able to adapt to it? For some persons, the major challenge has been power supply. So are you working towards a situation where if you have to stay back at home for the next 3 months, power supply, because we know PHCN will always be the PHCN we know, what have you done to be able to adapt to the new reality? So those are some of the things we can do to turn the adversity into advantage, such that when there's a downtime in other places, you're good to go, you're ready to go. Scalability is another critical thing. So if clients will send you a brief and it takes maybe 2 days on the average to turn it around when you are in the office, working from home, has it really improved on that process? Do you now require maybe 1 day, or working from home has actually made that longer? If that's the case, how are you able to realign and reevaluate your processes such that you redesign it to be able to take more from those that are still demanding for the services you have to offer? So this is something that is very critical for businesses in the creative space, for individuals in the creative space. The ability to scale in itself is critical. So are you the type that, okay, you can't take more than a brief in a month and that's the end? During this period, you know very well that clients will negotiate harder. So it means the one brief that you normally take in a month that is sufficient might not be, because everybody's trying to look for a better deal, trying to save cost. So it's very, very critical to reevaluate at this point, such that you put everything on the table and then ask critical questions and then provide answers, or start to think about, okay, how adaptable you are with the current situations, and then what are the things you can put in place to improve on this. Same thing with scale. Another critical thing is to reinvent. Of course, this is closely related to reinvesting in yourself, in your team, in your process. So reinventing would mean that the processes we have on ground currently, how can we redesign it such that it favors what the audience or what our clients are looking for? And agility is one of those things. So for instance, if there is a reason for brands to communicate, say in the next 1 hour, right, because of maybe a directive from the government, how agile are you or the clients? Let's start with the clients now. How agile is the client able to respond to those things that are being demanded? If the client has relied on a creative agency to get those things done, and the creative agency is not agile, is not responsive enough to turn those things around during this period, then you're at a disadvantage. And it's either the client is doing it by themselves, or they are looking for an agency or a creative person, an alternative that can deliver on time. So reinventing yourself, your processes, I would encourage us to look at, okay, agility is very, very critical at this period. Agile marketing is one of those things that will stand brands out. The ability to respond as things happen, especially on digital platforms. It is very, very time sensitive. And sometimes the fastest finger takes everything. So how agile are you during this period? And then do you have what it takes to position yourself as a very agile creative individual or a creative team, such that brands who are looking out for people who can respond to the things they're asking for, can respond to those things on time. Another critical factor we should consider, this in itself is very difficult, and it is something that we don't have a choice. We just have to start thinking about it. For agencies or for creative teams or for individuals who have come to realization that this is the way to go, it's almost like self-destruction, but it's in a good way. If you self-destruct, it means you were prepared for that destruction, and then, okay, you have plans in place for the next phase. But if you don't do that and the destruction comes from outside, it is more devastating. And what we've seen is platform-based processes will continue to dominate, will continue to win. We've seen this happen in some ways, at some scale, even with creative processes. Before now, a couple of brands would require the services of maybe a graphic designer, an art director, to help put up a post on their platforms. Currently, they don't need to do that, especially for people who don't think, okay, they have to invest in long-term plans for the brand and all. So you have the likes of Canva, you have several other platforms that the processes are actually platform-based. Once you get there, you move things around, and then you click a button, you have your end product out there. So there's very little reliance on humans. And at this point, because of the crisis everyone is going through, there's no certainty that you call a colleague that is supposed to deliver something and he will deliver it. So it means the more you are able to have processes in place that is almost automated, or is something that if the individual who is supposed to do it is not there, you can sit there and do it yourself, the more attractive it becomes. So platform-based processes are things we should actually start considering, such that instead of having to wait for things like, say, Canva to come from outside, we as individuals or as teams or as agencies within the industry, what efforts can we put in place such that we are the ones with these platforms? And then whatever it is that the audience is looking for, we're able to cater to it, and we're able to make some revenue for ourselves. So this is very critical. So those are 4 things I sort of put together that I feel, okay, we should consider during this period, such that we start to work towards turning the adversity into advantage for ourselves. There are some other things I also felt, okay, I probably need to share here. For some of us, we probably are aware of this. It's just a way of reminding ourselves. And these are opportunities we can also look into to turn adversity into advantage. The first one, localized sourcing. A couple of projects were stalled just because the materials needed had to be sourced from outside the country, right? Now, with lockdown everywhere, with restriction on international flights and all, of course, it means you can't do anything. Take, for instance, if you have a project that materials needed to execute those projects are coming in from China or from some other country, right? It means you can't do anything until the guys over there are back in business, right? And if they are shut down for the next 6 months, it means your project can't go live until after 6 months. And that in itself is a waste of time, loss of time, loss of resources and all. So part of the trends we'll probably continue to see is localized sourcing, because the risk of not being able to meet up with the deadline is reduced. So for media production, for instance, if you have a shoot that is supposed to take place in South Africa, the chances are, the likelihood of those shoot happening in the next 3 months is very, very slim, because no international flights out of Nigeria. I don't think the international flights are also welcome in South Africa or in any other location you might be thinking of. So those are some of the things that we should be considering, that, okay, a lot of people affected by this during this period will start asking questions. Why can't we start doing these things in-house, or why can't we source locally? And if you have positioned your business such that you're able to serve or provide those things that ordinarily will have been sourced from outside the country locally, then those are opportunities for us. Merchandise production as well. I'm sure by September, October, a couple of brands will be considering, okay, what to give to their clients, what to give to their customers at the end of the year. If this merchandise are the merchandise that, okay, will still come in from China, what are the chances that, okay, yes, you'll be able to get those shipments done and done on time? Because they have a lot of backlogs. So even if they open up today, how fast are they able to attend to new orders? So cost and time saving would lead to more of localized sourcing. And what we just need to do is to be able to ask the question, why are we sourcing from outside in the first instance? Perhaps quality, perhaps delivery, deadline, meeting up with deadline. So if we're able to work towards this, it means we give people the opportunity to look inwards and then to call us in for that business. And then in the process, turn the adversity into advantage. Part of the things we'd also continue to see is expanding self-service customer experience. So for instance, Google shared trends, what people were searching for. They usually share it every week. And for a particular week, the number one thing people were asking about is, okay, how to barb my hair by myself at home. And that's as a result of the fact that, okay, people were locked indoors for a month, for over a month. And for people who are used to having a haircut maybe every week, the next thing is, okay, how do I do this myself, right? It's the same thing with the clients we work with. If the things they want aren't coming as fast as they expect it, they'll start asking for ways to do it by themselves, right? The question is, okay, how long will that last? Nobody can tell. And what I always advise is, don't wave aside things that start as very minimal risk, because over time, they become major risk, right? So if there's continuous increase in self-service customer experience, if people are demanding for self-service with their processes and all, what it means is, for anybody who is positioned well enough to provide a platform for self-service, right, then that is an opportunity for you, right? Gone are the days where you're waiting for a webmaster to help you just make a correction or to change a picture on the website or to add another page. Today, most of us are benefiting from the fact that you can just log in back-end WordPress or whatever platform, and then you add another page and you click a button, update, and it's live. So these will continue to be in high demand. Agile marketing is very, very critical during this period and moving forward. And for anybody who is able to respond to the yearnings of the audience, of the client, as far as agile marketing is concerned, to say, okay, oh, can we get this done in 5 minutes? And you're able to turn it around in 5 minutes. Or you give them a link to say, you can actually do this by yourself. You can make so many corrections. You can have as much iterations that you want as possible. You just pay a token and then you have access to this service. Then, of course, you probably are going to be smiling to the bank. Virtual experience economy will continue to increase. Of course, it's been around, but because of what it costs to set it up, or migrating people from what they are used to newer platforms, it's not as fast as it is. But of course, COVID-19 has actually brought in digital transformation in so many agencies, in so many companies, more than the advocates in the office has ever been able to do, right? Because, okay, people are forced to actually migrate to that space. Even for education, we have kids, 5, 6-year-old, taking classes on Zoom. If not for COVID-19, that probably wouldn't happen in that child's life in another 5 years, because there wasn't any need for it. But because of the situation we have on ground, of course, virtual experience will continue to be on the increase. And of course, if people are moving into a space, of course, money will move into that space. So the question is, okay, what can we do in that space? For instance, the images you have on the screen, the bottom left corner is actually a car park somewhere in Europe. People were really, really looking forward to, okay, going back to the cinemas. COVID-19 wouldn't allow for people to gather at the cinemas. And then, of course, the film house decided to, okay, bring the screen outside, and then people sat in their cars, and then they watched the movie, right? This isn't a purely virtual experience, but in some ways, it is not the normal, right? And the question is, did people watch the movie? Yes. Did they enjoy it? Well, it's better than not being able to watch anything at all. And as we move along, there will continue to be improvements with all these experiences. The picture on top right corner of the screen is from Google. Google has been experimenting with their augmented reality for a while now. And because of the fact that a lot of children are stuck at home, no school and all, they had to speed up the rollout of some of these augmented reality experiences, such that if you type in lion on Google, right below it, you will see a button that says view in 3D. And then when you click on it, of course, you just have to, it activates your camera, and then you just have to place it somewhere in front of you. And then you have a live lion in your living room or in your office or anywhere you point the camera to at that point in time. They have for skeleton that, okay, is well labeled. Our kids can move around, even for adults who want to learn one or two things, they can move around it and all. This creates opportunity for us to start thinking, okay, if we have businesses or if we have clients who don't mind playing in that space, it means we can actually start moving experiences into people's private places, into their living room. So for instance, if there's a new product launch and the product pack is readily available, it means if you have it as AR, they click on something and then in their living room, they can have a giant size pack of maybe a cereal box, and all the information they need to have on it is there. If there's a call to action, we can put it there as well. So these are some of the opportunities that we need to tap into. Of course, you need to invest some capital, some skill set into it, but it is very, very possible. We've also seen a couple of battles on Instagram Live, all the versus this versus that and all. These are spaces where, of course, we'll continue to see improvements. And as demands are increasing, those platforms are also going to be responding. I think Instagram is already considering a way to monetize live sessions, right? So it means if platforms are responding to those demands, we as creators, we as people creating or designing communication for clients should also start thinking of, okay, how can we place our audience, how can we place our clients into this space because the audience is there already. And with that, at least we'll be able to turn the adversity into some sort of advantage for ourselves. In conclusion, I'll leave us with this quote from Abraham Lincoln that says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. So for me, what it means is everybody have been clamoring post-COVID. What that looks like, I don't know. I'm not an expert. When post-COVID is going to start, I don't know. So I wouldn't actually speak to post-COVID. Rather, I'll speak to you being prepared for whatever it is that happens. So have the skill set ready, have your mindset ready such that whatever post-COVID eventually turns into, or whenever it comes around, you're able to excel at that point, and you know you are positioned to take advantage of that situation. That's pretty much it. Thank you for the time.